Because what I was doing was making a new theme or a new preview theme, then tying that to a branch and then publishing that to cut over, which is exactly the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
It's exactly the wrong way. Hey, what's up? Kalen here. Welcome to episode number 2 of talkingshop.dev. Sat down again with David and we talked about some of the discount functionality he's building for Black Friday. We talked about some App Proxy URL issues that I'm running into. Weird checkout Captcha issue. If anybody can help me solve this, it would be amazing. And we also talked about some point of sale stuff that David's team has done and some stuff that I've worked on recently, and a bunch of other random stuff. So check it out. So what have you been up to this week? What's the latest?
This week, we have been working on some sales stuff for Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Nice.
And if we want to get into the weeds already,
Let's jump in, man.
Shopify has compare at prices that, like by default in most themes, show strike-through pricing
Right.
on the POP and the PDP and the cart and the checkout.
Right.
But we didn't want to use compare at prices because we want to have like a private event where there's like a private sale kind of situation.
Private event? What is that?
Yeah, like we want only certain customers to see these strike-through like discount prices.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And been trying to work through making sure that that's all good, and had to go into a little bit of a hacker mode last week to make stuff happen for that.
Okay.
But been testing that this week, and it all looks pretty good, so I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Ready to deploy our custom strike-through pricing situation across the POP
enterprise.
and the PDP.
Nice.
Across the enterprise.
So how did you...
Which is surprisingly complicated.
Yeah. How did you end up building it out?
We're
going to get everybody NDA'd. Don't worry about that. Everybody who listens to this, we'll get them all NDA'd.
Well, it might be surprising, but I'm using a meta field on the variant.
Called it.
And
literally in my head,
I just pre-calculate the price that it would be discounted at and put it in there.
Okay.
And then some super simple JavaScript that checks to see if you're in or not, and if you're in, it flips the price. But the complicated thing is not every color is discounted for certain products.
Okay.
So what that means is on the product list page, instead of showing a strike-through price,
right,
because you have the ability to change the color on the POP to preview, and if someone switches over to the sky blue color, which isn't discounted, and they take a screenshot and send it to customer support, then we're like, oh,
right,
guess we got to give them something.
Right.
So instead of showing a strike-through price, you have to show a range.
Right.
So that was fun to figure out.
Oh.
And then on the PDP, when you switch between colors, you got to make sure that when you switch to the sky blue, this isn't actually one of the excluded colors. That was like from last year. But it's got to not show the strike-through price anymore,
right,
which doesn't sound very complicated, and actually didn't end up being that complicated. But just a lot to test through and make sure that everything's good. And then okay, we've got recently viewed products at the bottom of the PDP. Guess those also need to have the strike-through price.
Right.
But anyway, that's what I've been working on.
Nice, dude. Yeah, that's one of those things that you go into. You go, okay, I knock this out real quick, and then you stumble into all the other shit you got to deal with.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Dude,
good times.
Did you?
How about you?
Dude. Well, this morning yesterday and today I've been trying to get an App Proxy URL to work.
I saw that.
And speaking about not complaining about anything, and so the a problem is,
What
man.
is the App Proxy URL thing? Like, what is it
So basically,
supposed to do?
within an app, you can set an app proxy URL. So there's like certain sub paths like slash apps, slash a, slash something. You can pick one of those and then give it a path. So then on mystore.com slash apps slash proxy, let's say. Well, in my account, in my case,
Mm-hmm.
it's an account section. I'm trying to build out a custom account section because the account section is complicated. And they so when they go to the store slash a slash account, I want to pull in this account section, and so I'm like going, okay, how am I going to build this exactly? Because I'm so used to just working within Liquid, like working with some established framework. Like if I'm doing a Shopify app, I'm using Gadget, or like there's these certain frameworks I'm using for things. But within the app proxy, you have you have to pick what you want to do there. So the app proxy points to any URL, and then you host your app. I mean, your app wherever you want, and you point it to that URL. And if your
Mm-hmm.
app returns content type liquid, instead of like content type text HTML, it has to return content type application liquid. Then Shopify pulls that into the site template. So it pulls it inside of the header. It has the header and the footer of the site, and it just drops your stuff right inside of that. So it's like that's perfect
Sweet.
because
Does it process the liquid?
it can process the liquid too, and it
Oh, that's
has.
easier than I thought it was.
Yeah, and so that's what, because initially I was going to do this all in Hydrogen, this whole account section in Hydrogen, but then I realized that I thought we needed some authentication deal, some like
Mm-hmm.
some weird authentic single sign-on type authentication that I thought was going to require headless. And then I realized we probably weren't going to need that, so I was like, oh well, this app proxy will be simpler because then we would have had to manually mirror the headers. Like we would have had the headless site have to match the header,
Uh,
so that you feel like you're on the same site. I was like, that's going to be a nightmare. So just trying to get this.
the app, the does the app proxy that like already handles auth stuff, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It passes a head. So when it sends the request to your server, it sends you the logged in customer right off the rip. So you have their ID and
Heck
there's a
yeah.
signature, so you're good to go. It's all handled. So I'm like, okay, what am I gonna build this on? And I was thinking about like doing something with Node and finding my own like deal like framework or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
well, at first I thought I was just gonna do like plain liquid, but actually I like in my case I need to do like this impersonation feature. So I'm not gonna just return, let's say, the orders for the logged in customer. I need to allow them to use like a cookie to impersonate another customer. And then I'm going to just do a Shopify API call to get the orders for the customer they might be impersonating. So I can't use just plain liquid in there, which was the first sort of complication.
Because
And
of the impersonation aspect, like you need to log in as.
yeah, yeah. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just use Remix. So I use Remix, but it's doing this weird thing with the JavaScript and CSS that it's loading, because let's say your app is at cloudflaredomain.com, whatever,
Mhm.
and then your app proxy is
Cloudflare is the goat.
yeah, you're at you're loading it at mystore.com/a/account, and it's proxying to that domain. So then when it tries to load CSS, it's loading it at the root of the store domain, which doesn't exist, And I was like, okay, this
Uh,
can't be that hard to figure out, but it was, and I found this GitHub issue on it. I still don't know if it's possible or not. I think I got it to work without using the liquid content type. If you use a regular content type, then the app proxy page loads as a full standalone page, and I got that working.
so you can like directly inject the CSS and JS or something.
Yeah, yeah, like it just worked that way. But then with the liquid header, it was all messed up, and I was like, how can this be this complicated? But I just so I kind of got stuck there, and then I tried a Next.js starter template, and I like I don't quite understand all the magic behind React and Remix and hydration, all that shit. Like when I use a
Hmm.
boilerplate and it just works, then it's great. But like,
Black box,
yeah,
totally fine.
yeah. But it's like returning. Like I think maybe you can't return React and JSX and stuff like that in that liquid app proxy.
Mm.
So, dude, I was just spending hours on it. It was brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
And why? What is the so if it's not headless,
Hmm.
what's the reason for not using like a gadget like you're familiar with for this?
So at first, I thought that we couldn't use Gadget because I thought that we were going to need to use the infrastructure they're using certain things on Google Cloud. They had their infrastructure kind of like they're kind of particular about that. But then
Gotcha.
just today, I was like, well, maybe I should ask, and I asked, and they're like, yeah, that's fine. so, so I posted the question to Discord, and they said the initial response back was that you actually can't serve React JSX through that app proxy, and I still need to double confirm that's the case. Because at first they said, well, you can't do it through a theme app extension. I said, well, it's not a theme app extension. It's just a regular proxy URL. So, dude, it's
That's another question. What about the don't doesn't Shopify have like a new customer account section that you can publish blocks to now?
they do. But what is the reason we're not using that? Uh, it's pretty. I think honestly, it's too restrictive from the little bit I've done in there.
Yeah.
I don't think you could possibly do impersonation. Like you have
Yeah, probably
very
not.
little
I mean,
control.
as soon as you say impersonation, I'm like, okay, so how are you going to get hacked on this?
Well, here's the good thing is that at first we thought there was going to be this solution to do impersonation through this provider called Auth0 that has
Hmm.
this new integration apparently that's going to launch with new customer accounts because like another way to do impersonation is with multipass. Like with multipass, you basically send like a payload that's signed like it's like signed with your access, your secret key or something, and you
Hmm.
can log in anybody you want to. That's how multipass works for single sign-on, but it's not compatible with new customer accounts. So I think
Ah,
Auth0 is supposed to do that, but then we found out that Auth0 does not allow impersonation. They actually removed that feature from their platform like 4 years ago because it's a security issue.
yeah.
And so, but then what I realized is we don't need like full impersonation in the sense of actually logging in as the Shopify customer. We just
Hmm.
need like a cookie so that we can show them some stuff in the account section, and we could use like a cart attribute on the storefront to show them the right pricing. If let's say they impersonate another customer that has different pricing, we could show them that pricing, and they're never going to need to actually check out. And actually, you don't want them to like actually be able to check out. So it ended up being one of those things where like at first Shopify has this restriction and you're like, damn it. But then you realize they were right all along. and,
Yeah.
and you were just trying to do something stupid, you're trying to Magento it or
Yeah.
something, you know? So,
I was having that conversation with someone today. We were talking about like if you if you've got two discount codes that are both set not to combine,
mm-hmm,
but one of them is better than the other one for the customer, when they try and put in that better one,
mm-hmm,
it will still replace the one that exists. So like there's a little bit of a mismatch there like maybe the expectation is that if a coupon doesn't combine with another coupon, then it just doesn't let you put it in.
mm-hmm,
But Shopify like made this opinionated decision
right,
that actually we should just switch to the one that's better for the customer.
right,
And I went through the like sometimes when Shopify makes decisions like this, it's well, most of the time it's because they see the way that people are actually using
yeah,
Shopify, and they've made this decision because it's probably the best
yeah,
one. And if we're trying to get around it and add complexity,
yeah,
there might not actually be value there at the end of the day,
yeah.
and we should just stick with what's working.
Yeah, like you might have had your first reaction be like, "No, wait a bit. I want them to have the cheaper discount. We don't want to be
Hmm.
giving money away or something like that." But then when you think it through, you go, oh, "Well, yeah, you should. It makes sense." Um, it's almost like there's this like denial cycle of like the Shopify constraints where it's like, at first it's like this sucks, and then it's like anger, and then it's like depression, or then it's like acceptance that like they were.
Yeah, Shopify take the wheel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got other stuff to think about.
That's one of the big mindset shifts coming from open source is that like is the and
Definitely.
is that like a lot of time a lot of the constraints are really good, and like Liquid even has a bunch of like constraints like you can't assign an object. I think I remember running into that and thinking that was weird. Like I wanted to overwrite like a variant object and you just can't,
Mm.
I think.
Oh yeah, like the data on the variant
Yeah,
is read only
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
and and then I was like, this is so stupid. And then I looked into it more, and I was like, oh yeah, because they want the Liquid to have a certain amount of simplicity to it. And even with those constraints, like Liquid still gets, insanely complicated when you have like gigantic files or crazy third party themes. But it would be even
Definitely.
worse if the state wasn't managed as tightly.
Yeah, and it's like super like the decisions they make are such that it is super cacheable. Like
Right.
there's like
Right.
you can have complicated liquid, but because it's like pre-rendered, then there's a bunch of caching in the middle, and so a complicated liquid file still could be performant because of the constraints that have been put in place.
Right. Right. And they have like I think I was looking at like a some cloud like some weird Cloudflare or I'm looking into an issue with
Heck yeah. What are you doing on Cloudflare? Tell me.
well, it's actually not that interesting, but basically this one client has a captcha, the H captcha showing on every single checkout session when you get to checkout, even on the shop.app domain, which on desktop I'm logged in, so it takes me. They have their own custom domain for checkout, but it takes me to the shop.app domain, my testing, and I'm logged in, and there's still a captcha, and so there, it's and the captchas, people are getting stuck on. Like, have you ever seen that before?
No,
Because
I've never seen that. I was like super like when is that supposed to show up?
yeah, like I think it shows up every once in a blue moon, and so I'm trying to figure it out. And then somebody asked me if they're using Cloudflare, and I was like, my first response was no, and then I was like, wait, there's a first of all, there's like 97 Cloudflare features for one, for two, like Shopify uses Cloudflare natively. They use the
Right.
CDN natively, And then I was like, well, what about reverse proxy? So I looked up the domain. I looked up the DNS of the domain, and it was pointed to Cloudflare. And I was like, oh shit, they are reverse proxying it. But then I looked at another place, and it was Shopify name and address on the domain. So I think that all Shopify sites are reverse proxied through Cloudflare. I think.
And the way that you determine that is by looking to see if there are requests directly to Cloudflare.
Well, I mean the the domain is was pointed to like a Cloudflare IP. Unless maybe it's, I don't know if it's if it is a reverse proxy or if it's just hosted there or something. I don't know, but it's crazy how many different Cloudflare features there are. But
What does using Cloudflare have to do with the H
oh
captcha? Are you
yeah,
thinking that that's like a Cloudflare like feature that's coming through?
so what I think could potentially happen is if you're reverse proxying your site, then the CAPTCHA could pick that up and see that all of the requests are coming from the same IP, and then it could think that you're a bot or something and throttle you.
I
Like
see.
if the CAPTCHA is not, and then I was like, wait a second, is HCAPTCHA from Cloudflare? Because I'm like, who the hell knows? Cloudflare like is everything these days, but it's not. It's like I think it's like a different company. So if Cloudflare is reverse proxying all the requests, and then the CAPTCHA is seeing that, so I'm so lost on it, dude, and it's like a big issue for them because
Have you reached out to Shopify support yet?
yeah, hit up plus support. The first response was like, absolute didn't make any sense, or it was just I can't. Gosh, what was it? It was just it didn't really cover the issue, so I replied back. Hopefully, sometimes you got to go
Weird.
back a couple times and back and forth before they start actually like looking into it. But
I don't know. I have at this point I've opened so many Shopify support requests that maybe they put me in a different queue
yeah,
now, but I get pretty good. I get pretty good
really.
interactions with them most of the time.
Dude, can you can you please
Can you
can
give me
you
some of that?
proxy this support request through your account, dude? I need I need to get with
Hey,
whoever
this
the
isn't for Cuyana. This is like my friend Kalen has another random site and he's experiencing this issue. Can you help me with it?
yeah, dude. Oh man, that's funny. They probably do stuff like that where they route you around, or maybe it's based on tier or something like that. But yeah,
I don't know. In general, I'm pretty impressed with like sometimes, yeah, they don't understand stuff, but like the range of questions that I have are like go from way technical to like just something stupid, and they always seem like they get it.
dude. You are, dude, bro. Because I hear this from a lot of people, and I've done a handful of plus support requests by now, and seen them come back like pretty. They seem like tier 1 or tier 0.5 support. Like you're on a different tier, man.
Must be.
Yeah, you you gotta check your privilege.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm actually really curious now. I want to go through all of your support tickets and like see the responses. But yeah, so that's that one. It's and there's like
Well, that
so
sounds
little I
fun.
can do. I'm searching on the forums. I see people saying, "Okay, I have a user getting blocked by CAPTCHA." That's not surprising. Like everybody gets blocked by CAPTCHA sometimes. I see that come up. I see people that want
Hmm.
to enable a CAPTCHA. I see people that want to fully disable it. You can't disable it in the checkout. You can enable it in like your forms and other parts of the site. But I haven't seen a single other person mention this specific issue, and at this point, I'm losing my mind. So
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. And I guess Shopify support didn't tell you that it's like something that's impacting this particular Shopify brand.
not yet, not yet. I sent a follow up, so hopefully I'll hear back by Monday or something.
Wait, are you doing? You got to do the chat support. That's the good support
Oh, do you do the chat support?
every time. And
Dude.
sometimes I forget about it, and they're like, "Hey, are you still there?" Sorry,
Right.
I forgot about you.
Right.
But yeah, no chat support. That's where they put the tier 3,
Okay.
tier 100 people.
Okay. I got to try that because I'm usually hesitant to like sit there and wait around like for a chat and you know what I mean? I don't want to bill somebody like a half hour for sitting around back and forth with chat.
True.
You know what I mean? But you're probably right. That's probably I should try that.
Yeah, maybe waiting for the back and forth in email is worse than because most of the time when I'm interacting with them, it might be like 30 minutes that I'm there talking with them. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes.
Right.
Um,
Right. That's a good
but
call.
yeah, I generally find that super helpful.
Nice. Nice. Okay, you've given me some renewed hope that this support.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's a weird one, man. Um, by the way, did you see the new meta object entries flow trigger?
I
Yeah,
did. You got some ideas for that?
not really. I've seen that request come up a couple times, and it was just cool to see that come through. For some reason, I thought you might have mentioned that, but I probably just saw it a couple other places.
I might have to figure out something to do. So it's I guess the way that it works is you define what meta object you're interested in doing something when a new entry is entered, is submitted.
Probably, yeah. I haven't even looked at it yet. I just
Could be
saw the
interesting.
tweet. Thought it was cool that they're adding some triggers.
Yeah, I always see I forget his name, but I love seeing the by the way, you can do this now in Flow because we're getting more and more into using Flow for stuff.
Yeah, nice, dude.
Mm,
I got this I got this one client. They're asking me to look at one of their flows, and you know how you click on it and then you see the preview and you can drag it around within the preview. And
yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a few steps, but I'm dragging and I'm like, oh God, it goes.
It's never ending.
Yeah, it's never ending in, both,
Oh no.
in every direction. I was like, oh God, this is going to be
Yeah,
complicated.
people get kind of like glassy-eyed when you show them flowcharts like that. And
Yeah,
it's like, wait, what's happening here? But usually it's not too bad once you break it down.
yeah,
You know what they need is like, and maybe they already have it, is like a description of what this flow is doing that's like generated by AI or something.
yeah. That's a really good little AI use case. You know, there's got to be.
I feel like there's a few places where Shopify must be working on cooking something up with AI, like generating alt text for an image. Why isn't that a thing that you can just do
Yeah,
now?
it's it kind of feels like they should be moving faster with AI. Like, I, I'm like,
Agreed.
like I know they've got,
Where's Sidekick?
yeah,
Where's
dude,
my boy?
yeah, like there's some interesting things going, but like I don't know, the- like if it just seems it's like it's going slow. Like you see all these AI products moving so fast, and I almost wonder
Right.
whether you got to be AI first to just move really fast on that stuff. I mean, Shopify has so many other things to worry about, so it's like, and they have such a complicated scale, so like they have these things, and then they just take forever to launch. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Shopify believer. I'm just gonna guess that it must be hard,
yeah,
like the specific scenario that they're in with some of this stuff, and like totally maybe generating alt text is not something that has been a big pain point for a lot of merchants, but I feel like it has to be, especially with all of the ADA stuff going
has
around.
to be,
Like,
yeah.
it has to be something that they've heard of a lot. And like that, like my solution for that took me like a couple days. I feel like Rockstar, Shopify devs have something going right now and they're not releasing it for some reason.
Maybe, and I'm a big believer in Shopify too. I just think that like like the cursor editor, for example, it's like two guys. I mean, you got all of Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
and VS Code is like super impressive. I mean, everybody uses it, and they have Copilot, but Cursor just like pretty much leapfrogged them with like two guys. You know?
Well, they started from the entire VS Code code base, right? And then they added stuff on top of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that
But yeah,
that
I'm
definitely
super
happens.
excited about the like everybody's talking about like when is the first $1 billion single person
Yeah.
business going to be here, and that's like really interesting to me. Maybe in some way because I'm not great at managing people.
Right.
At least I feel like
Right.
I feel like that sometimes.
Right.
Um, and it's something I'm working through. But AI maybe will definitely help with some level of people management at companies. Like where is that planning doc for that feature that we were going to work on? And you got to like ask someone about that, and everyone you got to make sure everyone's looking
Mm-hmm.
at it on some cadence. Um,
It's
but I totally feel like AI is gonna become super empowering there, where I'm an individual contributor, and I have something that I need to
yep.
do, but there are resources that I can't find right now, and I don't know the right person to ask. You have this person who is actually a robot who knows everything that's happening and can like push you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like that is a huge unlock.
Dude, I
There's so many times when people are like just they don't know what the next step is.
yeah, yeah. I actually feel super empowered by AI. I like how you use that word because it kind of hits the nail on the head. Like just using cursor, like using it to write some code. Um, I actually used GPT for podcast transcripts, and it was freaking awesome because
Hmm.
I first used 3.5 and it like did them and I was like this is fine, and then I like took another look at them and I was like this actually sucks. Like the timestamps were so generic, and then I went ahead and just paid for the because I had stopped paying for for the 4.0 model, and it was so much
Hmm.
better. Like I was about to sit there and re-listen to the whole thing again, even though I was absolutely sick of listening to it for the fifth time, just because I wanted the timestamps to be better. And it did such a good job. And I think I've definitely had times, I think we all have, we're like, oh God, AI is going to replace us. Uh, but I just feel like it's awesome. Like I feel like we're gonna we're gonna use it to be like you're saying, exactly like what you're saying, as like an individual contributor, which is also my mode. Like I can't, I'm not good with people. um, to just be able to just do more stuff, and get
Yeah,
more done and stuff. So I'm
definitely.
feeling it.
There's a speaking through transcribing videos and video calls. Have you heard of Fathom?
I don't think so.
Fathom.video?
No, I don't think so.
We've been trying that out lately, and it is crazy. Like
Really?
we'll have a call with like 8 people on the call,
Yeah.
and like sometimes people will be like, how when you have that many people on the call, like you kind of overlap when you're trying to say
Yeah.
something. The call notes and like action items, and you just got to try it, dude. It's
I
so
gotta
good.
check that out, dude.
Yeah, next time you're on a video call with someone or just like any sort of Google Hangout, they've got a Chrome extension,
Okay.
and you can sign up for like I think they call it premium,
Yeah.
and everybody who has interacted with it in the company is just like totally blown away by what it's able to do and like pull out and summarize like the main points of what was discussed and the decisions that were made. Um,
Dude, that's so cool.
you gotta see
It's
it.
funny because this one project I'm on is there's these calls with like seven people, and there's this, we're doing a bunch of discovery for this big project, and there's all these details, and we're using, I don't know what we're using to summarize the calls. Something plugged into, I don't know, Teams. I don't know what it's doing, but some Zoom
Mhm.
plugin or something, and at first, and then we're aggregating everything in like a knowledge base by topic, and we'll drop in the notes, the auto generated notes from the call, and then
Oh, that's
ask the
cool.
man. It sounds cool, right? And so I was like, okay, cool. And then, but then like when you get into the details, like I was like starting to work on some of the data mapping, and I was like, okay, like let me see if I have any notes on where the skew is mapped from in NetSuite. And I went in and I'm like reading the notes, and I'm like, nah, it's not like, it doesn't have the right level of detail. It didn't capture everything. And
Hmm.
I was just like, I'm not going to even look at this too much. But if it was better, it would be amazing for these like complicated projects with tons of discovery calls. It would be
Yeah.
amazing to have it be
No,
really
this is
good.
that.
Oh, dude,
You
that's
gotta you gotta give it a
freaking
shot.
awesome.
Like the next level of this. So I'm gonna keep talking. Like I'm a little obsessed with it lately. Um,
Nice.
let's say you've got like you said, like like you've got 5 discovery calls and you've gone through like all these complicated things and everyone's giving their inputs. Um, and if those transcriptions, along with the summary and like the ability to ask a chatbot about that video call, like if all of that was in some sort of central
Oh,
repository, split up by team,
yeah.
like with the ability to say like, okay, don't include any don't include anything into the team resources if like it's a one-on-one, or if it's like something that is like an executive or a leadership call,
Mm-hmm.
like don't share
Mm-hmm.
that. But everything else, if it just went into some repository and you were able to ask about a set of calls, or just in general, like how are things going, um, that's that is a huge unlock for
Mm-hmm.
companies.
Oh, dude, that's massive.
And all of that goes into an AI, and then so like a level above that, you're like, okay, we know that we have this repository of all this information. Give that to a model, and then that model is kind of like, if you have a question, ask the model
Oh,
first.
that would be so cool.
It's like we're there. Like that is like
That's
we'll probably have that like next week.
that's
Like
so
what?
cool. Yeah, it's
It's
like
super.
I've started to use the AI question widget on Amazon products. I don't know if you've seen it, but at first when I started seeing it pop up. It was popping up in like the bottom left corner on an Amazon product page, and I was like, "Get this
Mhm.
thing out of here!" So I like closed it out, I minimized it or something like that. And then for some reason, I went and I looked, because like a lot of times if I'm looking at a product, I want to go, oh well, I have some specific question, and I'm reading the reviews and I'm trying to figure out like, okay, does it do
Mhm.
this thing, or does it have this problem I suspect it has, or does it whatever? And then I used the chat thing, and it was pretty good. It would pull in, it analyze the reviews, and it would answer your question pretty accurately from the reviews or from the product info, everything like that. And so now I'm starting to use it a lot. It's pretty awesome. And
Nice.
dude, I could only imagine if you could have a scope bot that just pulled all the information in, dude. Oh, that would be so cool.
That's what's happening right now. I feel like everybody's cooking that up.
That's awesome.
Same with like chatbot. Like let's say you've got a support chatbot on your website.
Mm-hmm.
We tried doing this year. We tried using like a free chatbot,
Mm-hmm.
that was not it wasn't AI based. It was like
Mm-hmm.
the old version of AI, where it was like it tries to pull out keywords
Yeah.
from your question to tie it to some flow of answer,
Yeah.
and it's just not good. Like especially when people have the context of ChatGPT as a thing.
Yeah.
When your customer comes to your store and like tries to use this old kind of chatbot, they're just like, "What is happening? This isn't like send me to an agent."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but with like with the ability, like, imagine a chatbot on like a support chatbot that you just upload your brand guidelines to, you upload your FAQs, and rather than like sending you a link to the FAQ that answers your
Mm-hmm.
question, it just completely answers it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that's stuff that I feel like exists now and everyone should have.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, it's like cost money or cost setup
Right.
time, whatever.
Yeah, the support AI widgets, most of the time, for me at least, I hate them. Like if I'm using them, and but I will say that this one app I started using, it's an iPass called Workato, and
Mm-hmm.
it when you do a support thing, it takes you through an AI thing first. And like the first time I used it, it didn't give me an answer. So then I had to do agent, and I'm like, I hate this so much. It's just one extra step before I can just talk to somebody. But then like the second and third time, it actually answered my question, and I was like, damn it. I mean,
Yeah, it's
I was
happening.
happy, but then I was also mad because I wanted to think that it sucked. Um,
Just because like you know the history of chatbot
yeah,
support. Like I don't want to go through a
yeah,
select one for if this is your problem.
yeah,
Like we all know that that's not the state of the art, and so it's immediately annoying.
yeah, yeah. Like we have baggage from it, but then a new,
Yeah.
like a new,
Have you you know what Matrixify, like the
yeah,
big like
yeah,
everyone knows
right.
Matrixify. Their their Slack channel. I I feel like I'm revealing the amount that I like find ways to get support.
Right,
But
dude.
maybe everybody does
That's a
this.
thread. It's a
But
constant thread for you.
yeah, they have they have a Slack that you can
Right.
join, and anytime you go in and ask a question in the general chat, there's an immediate response from AI that they have trained on their
Hmm.
docs, and it gives you the right answer within 1 second.
Nice.
And then like if it seems like it didn't answer your question, like I guess maybe they have some reporting on this, but then there's always someone from the team who comes in and is like, hey, do you like did this answer your question? Do you need anything else?
Nice.
They like that is a really good implementation of automated AI support.
Oh, that's
You should
cool.
give that a shot. I mean, I don't know how often you use Matrixify, but
Yeah.
maybe just go in there and ask it a random question about chemistry or something and
Actually,
see what it
dude,
says.
that's I actually was looking at it for this potential Magento migration, and I did have a question about something about a product import. I was planning to test one out. So I'll try that. I'll try that. That's
Matrixify is really good. They've got like built-in. Um, like I'm using Matrixify to do store backups of like products and collections and everything, and you just set it up to
mm-hmm,
run like once a day, and it stores
mm-hmm,
somewhere on their
mm-hmm,
stuff. They have like built-in FTP the file to some
mm-hmm.
place. Um, it's been
Oh
great.
yeah, they're huge, man. I always hear really good things. And it was funny because when I was at Mesa, I wouldn't say they were competing, but there were some use cases where there was something I was trying to get, and then it'd be like, oh, dude, it's easier to do in Matrixify. But
But I can't. I
I'd
gotta stay
be
here.
like, damn it. But but it's kind of cool. Like now that I'm all really only care what the best tool is type of thing. It's yeah,
Totally.
because I always hear really good things about them and stuff. Um,
I was using Mesa the other day for
oh,
something.
nice, hell yeah! I saw that they released an updated Odoo connector. Um,
What's Udo?
what's Odoo? Odoo? It's like an ERP. It's like a web-based ERP. I've never actually. So I remember hearing about it like I don't know 7 8 years ago or something like that, and it was like this rinky-dink little ERP. And then
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden I see signs in Austin like billboards for it, and apparently they've gotten like fairly big. At one point, I was trying to like get a partnership, contact there, and I couldn't even get in touch with
Hmm.
anybody. Um, but
Are they like a deeply integrated with Shopify situation or
um,
just a not NetSuite situation?
I think it's a not NetSuite situation, but I think they're open source. I've never actually used them. I tried to do like an integration once, and it was kind of a nightmare. The API they have a bunch of different versions because they're open source, so there's like a million different versions, and I couldn't figure out where the API docs were. It was kind of a nightmare. But apparently,
Uh,
relative to ERPs, they're like pretty decent type of thing. But anyways,
okay. We moved from I think it was like an open source ERP to NetSuite,
yeah.
and that was that was interesting. There's some interesting projects around ERPs lately. There's this one that's like trying to build into Shopify, like the Shopify-native ERP is like what they
Oh, cool.
kind of build themselves
Uh huh.
as.
Nice. I haven't seen that one.
It's called Good Day.
Oh, okay.
It's from Kyle Hensey, I think is his name. He founded Chubbies,
Oh, wow.
and then this is like the new thing that he's working
Oh,
on.
wow.
We meet with them every once in a while. It's pretty interesting. They're doing it. It's like all it's a like an it's an ERP like light that does certain things like PO management, but it's all built with like the Shopify. What is it called?
Huh?
Polaris, so it looks
Oh,
native.
cool. That's awesome, man. You know what's funny is we were talking about the PIM thing last time, and this one guy replied, and he was like, "Oh, I was really interested in the full episode because he's trying to evaluate a PIM situation right now." And he
Mm.
was like, how should it work? How should the meta fields and stuff like that work? And then the other day I was like thinking, I was like, man, I need to start working on an app. And I was like, maybe that PIM thing's not a bad idea. So like how would you want it to work? Like if you were to break it down, how it should work, you know? Like,
Like a native
yeah,
Shopify PIM.
yeah, yeah.
I guess the only way that it would not be confusing is if it could be deeply integrated into the existing like product and variant views in Shopify. Um, and there are some cool things like the what do they call them? Admin
Admin
action
blocks,
blocks, something like
admin
that.
blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do maybe you could do something interesting there, but really like the thing that's missing is a way like everybody wants to work on product data in a way that it looks like a spreadsheet. Like every PIM these days has this like, but look, here's a way to look at all of your data as a spreadsheet. Like
Oh,
everyone's trying to make it look like a spreadsheet.
gotcha.
And that's valuable because you can go through and like quickly edit
Right.
any of the properties of a list of items, or you could like check a checkbox on a bunch of them and say like I want to do this with these. I want to set them as um, exit date of blah blah blah. Um,
Right.
and I feel like that's just like that's the layer that's missing in Shop. Like they have the bulk editor, but you can't bulk edit
Right.
everything. Um, Another interesting thing that PIMs tend to do is like generating a reference site
Okay.
um, where like let's say you've got 10 attributes that are all relevant for a product from like a product management or a customer experience perspective. Like if I'm support,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know I want to know these extra five things about a product that I can't get to from the PDP because the PDP is like structured in a boom boom boom. Here's the things that you need to
Mm-hmm.
know, but then like what are the exact inside dimensions of the tote or something like that maybe isn't relevant, but someone might ask about
Mm-hmm.
it, and so that's another thing that a PIM can do is help you internally understand things about your products. that you might not need
Ooh,
to display to the customer. And right now, and like, it just doesn't make sense to put all that stuff in Shopify because Shopify is just the display layer. But if there's some way for Shopify to also fulfill, or a tool in Shopify to also fulfill some of those other actions,
that's interesting.
um, that could be interesting. Yeah.
That sounds like a finesse little feature that probably some decent sized companies need. Um, I do remember hearing recently about this new bulk editor app, but I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it. I could probably find it, but I think it was I think it was supposed to be really good as a bulk editor. Because I think some of the bulk editors are not like great.
Hmm.
So I gotta check that out.
Yeah, like bulk editing is one of the things. It's also like another good, like there are processes that need to happen in terms of hydrating product information before it gets to Shopify. And the reason why it's before is because as soon as it's in Shopify, you've either got to set it as like unpublished, or like you got to make sure it's not showing
Mm,
yet. And so there's this like there's this time period between concepting a product and like working with developing that product with the manufacturer, and then like, okay, we've developed this thing with the manufacturer, we've got, so at this point we've got a SKU,
mm,
and we've got like a list of colors that this thing will be. But what we need to work through is with the copy team,
mm,
like how do we communicate about the
mm,
product? How do we format the dimensions? Like we've got a set of dimensions that, like again, is like a list that's 10 lines long. We want to edit that down to 3 to make sure that it's
right.
kind of like presentable to a customer. And so that's a lot of what our like spreadsheet PIM is doing right now, is like
Nice.
a resource for us to work on with the copy team. And so if that could be done in Shopify in a way where it's not like anxiety inducing, that now that this is in Shopify, it might be showing somewhere. How do we make sure to like get them all ready? That's another big thing that PIMs do, is like letting you know, like, okay, there are of this set of products for the holiday season, 30% of them still need copy. Like that's
Right.
some of the interesting stuff that PIMs can help with.
Right. But as far as the pre-published stuff, like you could just set the product to a draft. Uh, that's pretty simple. Or are you talking about pulling in updates to an existing published product where you need them in some uh, preliminary state before you push them
Yeah, I guess it could be both. I mean, I guess draft helps there.
in?
There's other weird stuff that we have, and I'm sure other companies have, that's around like, um, what should the release date for this product be? And that's something that we had to build something around,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like, okay, the product is technically live because we want it to be up on the site and collect waitlist signups.
Oh, okay. Right.
Um, but as soon as we get to the release day, the waitlist button should change to an add to bag button. Same with pre-order. Like if it's on pre-order, what's the
Right.
how much pre-order quantity do we have that we want to sell through?
Right. It's almost like there's this whole flow to the life cycle of a product. I almost imagine this like a collaborative,
Definitely.
like you know how there's like collaborative tools for like I don't know Figma files or like where in that prepubescent stage when you're like you're collaborating on copy and you want to see the percentages and maybe you have an approval flow where they draft the copy and someone
Exactly.
approves it and then pricing and then like I can imagine like a whole collaboration flow, and then there's like the pre, and then it goes into a pre waitlist phase, and then a pre-order phase, and then an actual order phase, and then a sunset phase, and then a yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Coming back from sunset because you're running an archive sale, so you got to make sure you get all of the products from like 3 years ago back up on the site.
Right, right. And then also like maybe the answer is just spreadsheets, like just having it in
Yeah,
because
Yeah, I
like
think that is.
you're not gonna. I mean, I mean, I gotta pull up this bulk editor app because I remember it being good, but you're not gonna have like a really good bulk editor like Google Sheets within Polaris. you're just, it's just not gonna happen. Like, there's so much from like bulk copy paste to like, there's just so
Right.
much you can do in a spreadsheet. And I mean, if it's nice and tightly integrated, then
Yeah, I mean, it has like we worked on it. Like you've got the spreadsheet, and then you've got custom code that you can run on top of it with app
right,
scripts, and that just does stuff for you. Like
right,
the one of the things that we got on Twitter after our conversation about PIMS last time was like um, PIMS just like this is something that PIMS just aren't good
mm,
at, and maybe that's the case. But either way, you still have to just like someone has to build the the step between the PIM data and getting it into Shopify. And in our case, we just built it on top of the sheet. Um, but if you've got like a PIM that also is missing that step, you're still just going to be building that step
yeah,
between the PIM data and Shopify. So why is the PIM even part of this
yeah,
situation?
yeah. It's complicated, but I do think like it's interesting you mentioned the native Shopify native ERP, which by the way, that's a much bigger scope than PIM. So I mean,
Yes,
if,
it is.
if they if they actually pull that off, I mean, but I do think there's going to be, with the Built for Shopify program and stuff. I think that there is going to be like Seguno. They talked at the Toronto event, and they're an email app, but they're native into Shopify. So they're like a Klaviyo native into Shopify, and I hadn't really been aware of them up until that point. And they were talking about like they did a whole talk, and actually the guy I think is Chris, I think his name. He was ex Bronto, I think. I think if I'm not mixing my
Okay.
stories up, but I think we had kind of known each other a little bit from the Magento days, and he was at Bronto. And anyways, his whole talk was on pushing data into Shopify into metafields, and how at one point they pretty much re-architected the whole app and just like killed a ton of data in their own database and pushed it into pushed it into Shopify native. And
Nice.
yeah, so he gave a whole talk on it, and when I was seeing that and realizing and kind of thinking about this like like I don't know if it's like resurgence or wave of like native apps, like fast forward a couple 3 years, like I could see them getting acquired, I could see them getting huge, and that's email, and then you do the same thing for every other category, like you
Hmm.
know, for like these more complex types of apps that would typically be a standalone SaaS. But like, Shopify wants native apps, and I think doing a good job of pushing for it and incentivizing it. So,
Yeah, they definitely spend a lot of time making sure that the API is generally usable so that any app that is thought up of can exist. Um,
yeah,
and then they just like wait and see what happens.
yeah, dude. Yeah, right. Just wait, dude. For this customer account section I was working on. At first, I was planning for it to be a whole separate database, and the current site that we're migrating has a whole separate database, and they pull orders in from different places. And then I went, wait a minute, we could just put all this in Shopify. And I went through, and there were a couple of minor limitations. Like there's an order screen that lets you sort on tracking number, for example, which you can't do.
Hmm.
But I'm pretty sure that's like not really an issue. And there was a couple. As I looked into it, there was a couple really really minor trade-offs. But I was like, dude, we can kill this whole database. And so I hope it's gonna work. But that was kind of cool.
So will you have to like import old orders in order for them to be searchable
Yeah,
in Shopify?
yeah. You have to import.
Just make sure you uncheck the calculate Avalara taxes before you
Oh,
do
okay. That's actually that's actually really good. That's a good heads up.
We're trying to get like all the way back to 2014 on our orders and trying to get everything into Shopify, and there's been things,
Right.
but Matrixify is helping out there
Oh,
too.
nice. I had this one where I was importing orders, and in for Avalara, it's funny. They didn't tell me any of the requirements up front. It was just like where we're getting ready to launch, and like, what about Klaviyo? What about Smile.io? What about Avalara? Like, I'm like, why didn't you tell me this 3 weeks ago? And so, but it turns out if you leave the status as, I think, unpaid, it doesn't, it goes into Avalara as like an unconfirmed, and then it doesn't show up on taxes and stuff. I don't think that's the ideal way to do it, because you probably want the status to reflect accurately, which is
Yeah, like if
paid.
your customer goes into their
Yeah, it's a
account and
bit
they
of a,
and it says like unpaid.
yeah, it's a hack actually. But that was that was what we, and it shows yellow, the yellow status in the orders dashboard. But
Right.
yeah, we got that.
It's not a simple exercise,
Yeah,
so I can empathize with you there.
it's always so, like, with these bigger companies with multiple systems, like things get pretty complicated, and it's hard to trace like things out. Like, it's hard to figure out what the hell's doing what.
Totally.
Yeah.
You got to just chip away at that stuff. Like that's kind of like we were there, and I think Shopify is helping kind of eliminate some of those systems, because the more of those you have, like there's going to be something that gets dropped between them. And like
Right.
just having Shopify and the Shopify point of sale alone has probably saved us like half of our time.
Wow.
Just like debugging what's going on with the Sweet Commerce in store point of sale. How are we getting, like, how do we make sure the discounts work the same way in store as in
Yeah.
online? And like that has just been a huge unlock. And like we kind of are chasing that in more ways to try and keep things, not keep things, but break things apart so that there's not so much of that.
Nice.
And a lot of the time, it's just like, yeah, let's just get that into Shopify.
Dude, are you guys doing any point of sale extensions or apps or anything like that?
We use a couple apps. Um, I was thinking about one that would help with monogramming, because we're using infinite options to help
Oh,
in
nice.
store with monogramming. On the front end, it's like a it's a built interaction, and everything gets set as cart line properties and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in store, it's not like you can't. It's not easy to add those line properties in the same way that you do on the
Right.
front end,
Right.
and so you just kind of have to set up like a series of checkboxes and fields for the store teams to make sure that they fill out the right
Mm-hmm.
way. Um, so I was thinking of making some sort of monogramming app
Nice.
for point of sale, but in general, yeah, it just kind of
Is
works.
that native that you can add fields? Like what you were just talking about? You said where you can add fields for them to fill out?
No, it's from an app called Infinite Options.
No, but you mean in point of sale? It ties in point of sale?
Yeah, they
Oh,
they
really?
surface a they surface a tile, and you can configure the
Oh,
tile to
that's
to
cool.
like ask certain questions.
But you're saying it doesn't go into the cart line items correctly in.
It
Oh,
does. It's just like on the front end, we can very clearly say like, okay, this is a travel case set. Do you want to monogram one or both of the travel cases because you get two of them?
when you say
What
on the front
size
end,
monogramming do you
when you say on
want?
the front end, you're talking about the online store? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So all that is like set up in meta
Hmm.
fields, and so the front end can load in that stuff and present the customer with the right
Right.
options. But in point of sale, like in the way infinite options is set up, is you can't have those conditions based on certain meta fields, and so you just give all of the options, and it's up to the associate to know like, okay, here are the things that I need to make sure I go through. Here are the
Gotcha.
valid sizes for this product.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Gotcha. That's cool. I did my first little point of sale UI extension, and
oh yeah, how'd that go?
it's pretty good. It wasn't too bad. It was very, very simple. It just adds a couple things to the cart attributes that show up. Grabs some, displays some discounts in there. But I'm really interested in the point of sale space. Like I think it's like I think the next Gil is going to be a point of sale. I actually think Jordan, who Gil hired at Checkout Blocks, and he has a point of sale app. I think he's going to be the next Gil with a point of sale app. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, I think he's
what does the app do?
well, he has one app that I think does stock counting. I actually don't know. Yeah, I think it integrates in point of sale. It lets you do
Ooh,
stock counting, but he just seems like he's really smart. I think he's going to figure something out, whether it's this app or some other app or something like that. But I think that the point of sale space, it seems really interesting. Like I think a lot of people are like I've heard a couple agencies wanting to specialize in it, and it seems like
yeah, it's cool.
yeah.
And their hardware is great. We had to buy a lot of hardware, and over time they keep bringing in new stuff. Like the Point of Sale Go was already
Mhm.
cool with like the case that lets you scan stuff, and then they added the dock. So now the Point of Sale Go can just like go into the dock, and it's
Nice,
lets them like sign stuff or whatever, see their receipts. Because
nice.
in California, there's like all these rules with weights and measures where you have to make sure that while you're ringing up the customer, the prices are shown to them.
Right? Okay.
And so like they keep doing like they keep pushing that stuff forward, and it's really nice for our store teams.
Dude, that's cool. Yeah, it seems like they're pushing it both from the hardware point of view and from the integrations point of view. It's definitely rougher. I mean, it's funny because we talked about how in a lot of ways we got into Shopify development when a lot of things were really mature, but like the point of sale
Hmm.
APIs are kind of wonky. Like it actually, I couldn't pull in meta fields into I think I couldn't pull them in into the UI extension, which I was like, what? So then I had to do a fetch out to a server to get to like recompute some things that were already computed in metafields. And
Rude.
yeah, dude, exactly. So it's like it's pretty rough around the edges, and I'm sure it's gonna like over the next. I mean, over the 5 years from now, it's gonna mature. I think like crazy.
Definitely.
But it's
Yeah, I mean, as I think about like 5 years from now, who is going to be competing with Shopify like at the same level of maturity or like focus on the merchant? And I don't know.
yeah, I really don't. The only thing I come back to is if there's a company that's really AI first, AI native, and I don't even know what that looks like means exactly as an
Right.
e-com platform, but I could see that disrupting. That's the only thing I could imagine somehow disrupting them. Other than that, dude, like it's funny. My friend, he's like, dude, Shopify is a runaway train, man. And I keep, I keep thinking about that. Like it's actually I don't know if you
Yeah,
ever,
no, I'm
yeah,
super happy to be here.
yeah,
Like I feel so good just like going to the docs, figuring out what I need. Like it's there's just so many like I remember so many times just like being at a dead
mm-hmm,
end on older systems, and it feels like there's always a way.
yeah, yeah. No, it's cool. I'm really like excited about the whole ecosystem too, and um, is
Like I feel like Metafields came out this year, right?
I don't even know when I feel like they originally
Wait, what year
came
is it?
out
Oh yeah,
sooner.
I launched.
I think they originally
Yeah,
came out a little while back, didn't
I lost a
they?
year.
Yeah, dude.
It's been 2 years, maybe.
It's been like 6 years or something.
What year is it?
Yeah, like at first I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to do iPhone development. Like this is gonna be a nightmare. But give you all the tools, and they tell you how to hook into the Safari debugger, so you can see like console logs and stuff like that that are originating from the app. And
Oh, that's
yeah, so
cool.
I
I
like
haven't tried
connect
that
my
yet.
phone up to the thing, and then I'm like boom, boom, boom. I got my app going. It's syncing to the phone, and
Hmm.
then I have a function that's syncing to like the discount functions, and I got my code syncing up to Gadget. I got all this shit happening out of like
Yeah,
one directory. That's doing it all. I was like, this is
yeah.
crazy.
So much less bullshit, like toil, like
Yeah,
so much less
yeah,
toil.
yeah, yeah.
Just let me create value.
Yeah. I'm kind of nervous about like when it goes live and like inevitably some bug comes up and it's going to be like super urgent, it'd be like the whole store is going to be blocked because of something. And then I'm going to have to and I'm going to probably not be able to reproduce the issue in production or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm kind of terrified about that actually. but, but
Hopefully that won't be the
yeah.
case. But yeah, I mean, it's like if you're doing stuff on the cart change, you never know.
You never know. Good little catch up, dude. Could get used to this.
How many items from your checklist did
Oh
we
my
get to?
God, dude. I have 23. I have 23 things on my to-do list. I was going to ask you about theme workflows. I was going to ask about,
Oh, that's a good one.
okay, we got to the PIM thing. I have a pet peeve of the week, SKU searches in admin. I have an app of the week. I have a tool of the week. I have so many things, dude. We didn't get anywhere
Well,
near
shit.
the full list.
Guess we're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to do that. But we got through some of it.
I would love to talk through theme. I feel like our theme workflow is pretty solid.
Yeah, I like we talked about it before, and I was like, cool, cool, cool. Makes sense, makes sense. Okay, all pretty straightforward. And then as I get into my own theme workflows, they're inevitably like don't have any of that stuff, and I'm like, I don't have the time to set all that up. And if I really had the muscle memory from it, I would just fire it up
Right.
real easy. But I'm just like, dude, I
No,
don't.
it is painful to test through because you just have to like commit, see what
Yeah,
happens. Commit, see
yeah.
what
And
happens.
because I'm like, oh well, he gave me the blueprint like from the get go, and I'm like, I haven't done any of that shit, dude. Like none of it. Like like my theme workflow is garbage. Um, the main thing it drives me crazy is that I used to do a theme pull anytime I wanted to merge stuff in. And I think it's because I was doing it wrong, but I kept hearing people say that GitHub will sometimes randomly not sync certain files. The GitHub integration will just not sync files to GitHub. So if you deploy a new branch, you could miss things. But then I realized I don't want to deploy a new branch. I want to just merge the branch into main, and then everything's a lot simpler.
Right.
But that was what I would do every time.
Yeah.
I'd do a theme pull, and there would be all this weird JSON diffs in the theme pull.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that, right? Okay. All right, that's simple enough.
There's like there is a weird difference between what happens in the main theme in Shopify versus what they push to GitHub.
Yeah.
And theme pull pulls all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as we branch from main, like the version of main that they push to GitHub, and then we merge into that same one, you just kind of avoid all of that because you're not touching those files anyway.
Right. Because what I was doing,
or at least making diffs in that area.
Because what I was doing was making a new theme or a new preview theme, then tying that to a branch, and then publishing that to cut over, which is exactly the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
It's exactly the wrong way.